So I read this quote recently. It goes something like this, and it may or may not be applicable here to Cardinals Underground. You can decide for yourself amongst yourselves. The secret of success is sincerity. Once you can fake that, you've got it made. As I look across the desk here and try and figure out, okay, are we in the trust tree or not? Are we adversaries, competitors with Wise Guy coming up? We're in
the trust tree. It's only the three of us.
I'm trying to just assess here what exactly I'm looking at.
I don't know if there's enough room for a tree in here. It's pretty crowded at this point with the cameras and the lights.
Yeah, apparently I needed to go Polly Pancake makeup around here with all the bright lights. I missed the memo on that one, but we persevere.
I don't know if we're going to persevere. I'm a little hangry right now, Paul.
Really?
I've been fasting since 5:30 this morning because I have to get some blood work later today.
Blood work. Darren, okay, wait a minute. Some free advice?
Yeah.
Are you receptive enough right now to free advice, or will free advice get me punched?
Just be sincere.
I would never physically assault you.
Always schedule any sort of
First
blood
thing
work.
in the morning.
I know.
Yeah, what's going
like
on?
my wife.
Yeah, what's the deal with that? Are you new around here or what?
I'm getting a physical. It comes with the physical. They didn't have an opening in the morning. Plus, I have stuff to do in the morning.
I see. Okay. All right. Well, see, now I'm glad I asked, though, because now I'm going to adjust accordingly as to exactly just how, severe some of
better hope I don't lose Wise Guy.
I mean, if I come in, right, I might be conducting Wise Guys from outside the studio. Can I zoom into this edition so I don't get punched? Maybe I'll do that, Dani.
You're not getting
the COVID
punched.
2020.
Yeah, there would be video evidence for HR, Paul. You're safe.
I thought it was just the weather turning, or maybe the tide is turning.
Ooh.
The Cardinals' fortunes are turning. Can I say that?
A turn of a phrase.
Actually, I saw here when I looked something up, you realize the original quote, "The turning of the tide," is attributed to Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, famous American poet from the 1800s.
I've heard of him.
Unfortunately, I have read too much of his work as an English major. Quote, "The lowest ebb is the turn of the tide." Did the tide turn in the second half against Miami?
You were an
Dani
English
Sureck.
major?
Dani, we're not going to talk about that. It was a moment of darkness, as the Bears called it after their loss. We'll get to the Bears in a moment. A moment of darkness. Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Repeat the question.
What did you really want to be, and not? Did you want to be like a teacher?
See, Darren just automatically presumes that I had no interest in the actual
Right,
major.
wouldn't you have been a journalism
that I
major?
was going. They actually didn't have any sort of journalism. They had a master's degree in journalism.
He just wanted the Cal education. He's one of those
I went in
guys.
as a business major, and then I went in a different direction, and I was still a business minor. Nobody cares. What they care about is that the Cardinals had almost 300 total yards in the second half.
That's true.
And they got the passing game unlocked, and there it was for everyone. For the Miami Dolphins' number one ranked pass defense, how does that taste as a couple of 100-yard receivers in Marvin Harrison Jr. and Trey McBride?
It's great that for an offense in Arizona whose passing game was inconsistent and struggled to find consistency throughout games and on a week-to-week basis, to have the type of performance they did against the top passing defense in the league in Miami. It wasn't that way the whole game. After the first quarter, Arizona had just 39 total yards, 2 first downs, 2 minutes and 14 seconds of total possession. That efficiency increased as the game went on, really in the second half, even more so in the fourth quarter. That just speaks volumes to the resiliency of this team to be able to come back from behind the whole game, down 10 points at one point, and to be able to rely on your receivers in a way that hasn't been clicking this far into the season. It's been a heavy emphasis on the run game for Arizona's offense with running back James Conner. While that was still an emphasis, it wasn't working. Less than 100 rushing yards in the game in Miami. What's okay with that is the passing game was working, where in the past, when the run game has been stuffed, the passing game for the Cardinals was not able to pick up the slack. They were this week against the Dolphins.
What was the double negative by James Conner walking off the field? We got the cell phone video that was tweeted out by the Cardinals. What was it?
I missed that one.
We ain't never stopped fighting, or we never not stop fighting.
I don't know that he was an English major.
It was a double negative.
It's got to be just killing you right
it was.
now,
It was. Yeah, I know. It was like 5 words, but it was a beautiful double negative that really said it all. It was James Conner and his exclamation coming off the field. It really deserved. Honestly, the translation deserved an exclamation point, but we know Darren, and
No,
it just
let's
doesn't
not go there.
Yeah, it just violates all the rules of Darren.
I will say this, if we have to talk about exclamation points, the fact that when you start talking about, the winning 2 straight for the first time in a long time, and Kyler throwing for 300 yards for the first time since 2022, I believe, week 6 of 2022, and then getting, as you said earlier, McBride and Harrison it was Harrison's second 100-yard game, but we all know, we've talked ad nauseum at what his issues have been, and then McBride getting his first 100-yard game. I mean, it's what really struck me about the passing game getting unlocked was after the game when Kyler was trying to be as nice about it as he humanly could, but he basically said, look, we all, and I'm paraphrasing, but we basically know this is a run-first team, and that's great and everything, but it's really good when we can pass the ball and when I can pass the ball. And I do think there was a joy for a lot of this offense that while they enjoy doing what they do and having Connor be that guy, I think there was a joy that came out of how they were able to win this game through the air.
Well, and it answered the question that we'd been posing here on Cardinals Underground, brought to you by Pacific Office Automation for more than a month. What happens to the Cardinals? What happens to the Cardinals offense when the passing game gets in gear, when you're truly balanced? And I think just the advent of that happening, and now you have to see a repeat of that, and you have to see if it's consistent. And what was the word of the week? Stack. You did stack wins, obviously. Now you have to stack offensive performances, especially in the passing game. But if the learning curve was just navigated, in particular between the quarterback and the rookie receiver, because, oh, by the way, Marvin Harrison Jr. just became the first Cardinals rookie with multiple games of 100-plus receiving yards since not Larry Fitzgerald in 2004, but Anquan Boldin in 2003. Not even Fitz had 2 100-yard receiving games his rookie season.
Yeah, and again, we've talked about this. Fitz didn't blow up the world as a rookie, and that wasn't even necessarily just because Anquan Boldin was there, because Anquan Boldin missed a bunch of time that year with a knee injury. So,
look, we talked about this on the plane right out to Miami, and I promised I would get this to you, Darren, and here it is.
Oh, okay? Yeah, you need to get.
Here we go. Here, don't reveal who it is. Yeah. All right, I found it moments before that. So I was doing right before we turned on the cameras here, Dani. I'm going to read a quote. You tell me what all-time great receiver is responsible for this quote.
Are you trying to start your own wise guy asking me the questions, Paul? That's not how this works.
I told you the tide was turning, or maybe I'm turning the tide on you. Here we go. The quote is, I was catching everything at practice, but then during ball games and during preseason, I was dropping everything. Now, I'm not saying that applies to Marvin Harrison Jr., but
I had a few drops.
I remember getting booed. I remember the media getting so down on me and saying, hey, how can you go draft this guy? It's just no way he's going to be a bust. End quote. Jerry Rice, 3 years ago, reflecting on his rookie season, 1985. Which I do vividly remember. I was old enough to remember Jerry Rice, the first half in particular of his rookie season, drop after drop. He was trying so hard to be that guy for Joe Montana, the Hall of Fame quarterback, and they had just come off a Super Bowl championship, and he was abysmal, screwing up routes, dropping balls, and he ultimately was just trying too hard, and he just went on to become the best receiver ever.
Marvin Harrison Jr. looked the most confident we have seen him this season. In the Rams game, when he had the first 2 touchdowns, first home game at State Farm Stadium, everything was moving so easily for that Cardinals offense. In this game against the Dolphins, when there were struggles early in the game to move the chains to put points on the board, the fact that he stayed confident in his routes and his ability is very impressive. He had his long stride on that great touchdown. He left cornerback Jalen Ramsey in the dust on a crossing route, had a nice dive to snag that into the end zone. The most impressive play was the crucial 3rd down, 3rd and 4 in the 4th quarter. Kyler Murray threw that ball before Harrison even broke his route. So the trust is there between the quarterback and the rookie receiver. Harrison showcasing, again, not just his length in that dive, but his strong hands to hang on to the ball as he went to the ground, and head coach Jonathan Gannon ended up challenging that call, having it reversed to be a catch, and led the Cardinals down to what would end up being a game that they won in large part because of that crucial 3rd down catch. to see that relationship blossom and really start to show on a week-to-week basis is going to be key for this offense and for the longevity, I think, of Harrison to really maintain that confidence on a week-to-week basis. I say that, though, nobody in that locker room has wavered on the confidence they have in Harrison. That has not been a storyline or anything in that nature. You can just see in how he was carrying himself and how he was mentally locked in, that he was feeling good in that game and that the trust and the confidence is there between the two.
I'm going to take it a step further. I mean, I feel like Jonathan Gannon's been a little irritated when he's been asked about Marvin Harrison's issues and takes umbrage, whether it was during the week or even right after the game, about like this idea that, you know, he's struggling.
Well, what do we call it? We came up with what the 4 C's, and then it went down to 3. So comfort, yes, he looked comfortable on the offense. Confidence, Dani, like you said, definitely his confidence grew over the course of that game, no doubt about it. And then contested, he was making contested catches. And I'll say this, on the touchdown catch, what did Marvin say after the game? And Kyler confirmed it, that they had a prior agreement or understanding that if he moved inside and got man cover, you're running the corner route. So as soon as they got that from Jalen Ramsey, who, by the way, whether he knew it or not, when he moved inside with Marvin Harrison Jr., that became a tell. And they knew right away the Dolphins were in man. So boom, here, it's on. It's like so on. He's running the corner. Then when you watch the film back, because I was talking to a couple of coaches about this, they said the most amazing part about it, or maybe the most encouraging or impressive, is, as you pointed out, the ball's out of Kyler's hands before he makes that plant foot pivot and angles towards the corner. So the timing was there, the chemistry, they were synced up, and that just takes time. And I know people think it's media speak when Kyler's saying as much for, 3, 4, 5 weeks in a row, but you just see that finally get some traction, and now all of a sudden, when a Dolphins defense is doing everything it can to take away the run, and wouldn't you have done the same if you were the Dolphins defensive coordinator? I mean, Cardinals didn't have a reliable, consistent pass game to beat you. They were beating teams with James Conner's legs and Kyler's legs to a large degree. So, of course, they're going to go all out to stop the run. And at that point, it's absolutely vital if you want to win the game, if you're the Arizona Cardinals, and you want to score in 4 of your last 5 possessions to pull off a walk-off win, then boom, the passing game is a must. Got to have that balanced offense. So when we say the tide is turning, when you combine that with the fact that the Cardinals' schedule is turning, right? Here's the one I like about the Bears. The Bears have to realize that, guess what? They now face the NFL's toughest remaining schedule. So when you talk about the tide is turning, you talk about the Cardinals, whose 4 losses are all against 6-win teams. And the Bears, meantime, have feasted on a very light schedule, and they have the toughest remaining schedule of anybody, with just 1 opponent left, currently owning a losing record, and that would be New England. So, okay, you got the Bears coming to town, and then you have a reeling Jets team, and then you have the bye. And how equipped do you think, Darren, this team is to, as we said, the word of the week was stack. I mean, do you think that was a team turning a corner?
I mean, I think you're in a position right now where if you're going to make this a legitimate run, right? Like, aren't these 2 games you have to get? I know you don't want to look ahead, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, but like, you're playing at home. You're playing a Bears team that I know we'll get into later, took a gut punch of a play to lose. And then you're playing the Jets, who are really off the rails right now. Now, the Jets are going to have some extra time before they come in here because they play Thursday night this week. But, you know, those are 2 games. I mean, if you're not 6-4, you're probably going to be disappointed, right?
Yeah, especially now at this point. And by the way, here was the other stat. When you talk about, here was a point I made. Tell me if my recollection is accurate on this. Everyone talks about the rookie season, right? In addition to the whole Jerry Rice example, what about Trey McBride himself? I mean, his rookie season was nothing notable, right?
He didn't have a lot of opportunities.
Exactly. And
you're saying Trace McSorley wasn't going to unlock Trey McBride?
And even the first half when he was behind Zach Ertz last season. So you never quite know exactly. All I do know is that the stats said when Kyler was targeting either Trey or Marv, we're on first name basis now, this deep into the podcast, he went 15 for 18 for 235, a touchdown, and a passer rating of 138. Okay, sustainable? I think so. I think that is,
they're your two best receivers, as long as they're healthy, right?
By the way, when it was 3rd and 1 and you lofted that ball to the sideline to Trey McBride, right? Was anyone else sort of swallow hard on that one, wondering, oh boy, that's a gutsy call? But his hands are so certain. He's the guy I probably trust the most. If you're going to put the ball in the air, it's Trey McBride.
Strong hands, tough to bring down, smart about bringing both feet, as we say, both feet and not 2 feet after that Steelers touchdown that wasn't, making sure that the language is correct there. McBride is good about all that.
I don't have a big problem throwing 17 yards on 3rd and 1. If it was 4th and 1, I would have gulped a little bit. But
maybe
3rd and 1, you're hoping you can get it on the next play, right?
Here's the thing. Kyler had a stretch of 8 straight completions in the first half. He finished the game with 10 straight completions. That too. I mean, that's not nothing, right?
Especially when the first 2 passes were batted down and everybody's like, although
especially the one around Jalen Ramsey that could have been a big hitter.
That was so set up well. Connor was going to run for a long time. Yeah. But before we jump on anything Cardinal related, I thought that was a fantastic play by Jalen Ramsey to knock it down. And then the other one was just Calais Campbell being 6'8", and Kyler Murray not.
By the way, you could hear guys calling him the OG. Both sides, players from both sides. He's not Calais. He's just the OG. That's what they're calling him down on the field. So, what else stood out about this one? Especially, is there anything else we're missing on Marvin Harrison Jr. here that you guys liked or stood out to you, or maybe they wet them? I will say this: after the touchdown catch, just seeing the big wide smile on his face on the bench.
There was a lot of smiles when he came to this post-game presser, and I'll be honest, I tweeted out this, making his self-awareness. Bo Brack, congrats to Bo Brack for saying this, but if you recall last week when Marvin was talking, he was talking about how this season wasn't going the way he had envisioned. And then Josh Weinfuss said, well, what did you envision? And he didn't know what to say. He's like, I don't know. I think he had an idea of what he wanted to say, but he was smart enough not to.
Exactly.
Bo Barack after the game said, so, Marvin, is this what you envisioned? And Marvin just got this huge smile on his face, and he's like, yeah. And I love the fact that he knew exactly what it was a reference to, and he knew that, again, the whole situation. I think the kid's really smart. I think he's going to be really good. I think he's gone through some things, and as we mentioned earlier, that they're not unusual. Larry Fitzgerald, Jerry Rice, and again, he's still got a long way to go to prove he's going to do it all the time. But it feels a lot more like this is learning curve rather than he's being overwhelmed on this level.
We should also give props to Kyler Murray. He had a really nice game. He was patient and aware. The Michael Wilson touchdown is a really nice example of that. The offensive line hasn't given up a sack in 3 straight weeks, which is a first for this franchise in decades. It's not a stat, although it should be when you've got a quarterback as mobile and elusive as Murray is. A big part as to why he hasn't been sacked in 3 weeks is because of him and his legs and his eyes and his awareness. On that touchdown to Wilson, Jalen Ramsey came off the edge. It was just Miami's defense, who does generate a lot of pressure, had an extra man. That was the leg up they had. Murray was looking to his left in the end zone. Ramsey was coming off his right. Just before Ramsey got to him, Murray was able to see, escape the sack, was patient, and found Michael Wilson in the end zone. We talk about the offensive line needing to be patient and smart when blocking for a quarterback who can extend plays as well and as long as Murray can. And the same goes for the receivers, for Wilson to be able to be smart and find the open space. Murray had some really nice throws, talking about that crucial 3rd down to Harrison, having the trust to put it in the right spot before that route even broke. I thought that Murray did what you want to see, what you need to see from a franchise quarterback, which is keep you in the game when you are playing from behind and elevate your players. And that's what Murray did in their win on Sunday.
I want to say on the sack thing. I think I think this offensive line has played pretty well this season. You look at their rushing totals; they've done a solid job, and the sack numbers for the last 3 games mean something. But he should have been sacked twice just at the end of the first half when they could have just run out the clock. If he doesn't move around and throw incompletions, those are both sacks. And there was probably at least 4 other plays that he could have been sacked, should have been sacked, and he Kylered his way out of it.
There was one with Chop Robinson on Miami's defense in particular where he escaped the sack from Robinson, and before Robinson even got up off the ground was slamming both of his hands on the ground. He was so frustrated that Murray was able to get away from him.
And again, you saw the whole package. Dani just talked about a lot of it, but you saw the whole package with Kyler. You saw him throwing from the pocket. You saw him throwing under pressure. You saw him getting away from sacks. You saw him running like he did on the 3rd and 4, where he somehow picked up obviously one of the most important first downs of the game so they could run out the clock. You saw the quarterback that everybody has been waiting to see, that wants to see, that has shown the flashes. You saw a lot of that, I think, the whole game long. I mean, even their issues in the first half, I didn't think a whole lot should have been put on his shoulders in the first place. And if you get that kind of passing game, even if it's for a little bit fewer yards, but you can marry that up with getting Connor more loose than you were able to. Oof.
You saw the quarterback you saw in 20 and 21, his Pro Bowl seasons, did you not? You saw the quarterback who was throwing downfield with regularity. The next-gen stat is he had 8 deep ball completions. That's 16-plus air yards. He had 8 in this game, and he had 9 in the previous 5 games combined. And how many times have we said over the last month or long? We talked about this in August. Kyler in the offense isn't entirely back until the deep ball is back.
It's funny you bring that up. I was just on NFL Pro this morning, and it's a treasure trove of looking at film stuff. And if you go to the team page, you can build your own plays at what you want to look at, but there are already plays like you can do every touchdown pass, every touchdown run, blah, blah, blah. So I was looking at every 20-yard pass this season. So I didn't even look at what they were. I just played it. So I'm watching, and I think there was maybe one in Buffalo. I can't remember. But then there was a whole bunch in the Rams game. And then there was one in the Lions game, and then it jumped all the way to the Dolphins game.
Wow. That's amazing. Yeah, so there you go. And what do we attribute that to? Could it be the Kurt Warner effect of him putting out the 30-minute breakdown video where he basically asserted and illustrated that Kyler's playing a little too fast. His drops are a little too quick. His reads are a little too quick, getting rid of the ball, And if you listen to some of the post-game comments, and on Monday from the head coach, Jonathan Gannon, what did he say? That Kyler wasn't sped up. So if you want to reverse engineer that a little bit, in fact, it was Drew Petzing on Tuesday who was asked about, did Kyler slow down a little bit? And Drew said, and I quoted him loosely here, yep, it's very important. We call it rhythm because if you get sped up as a quarterback, you're going to get ahead of the routes. You're going to go through the progressions too quickly. The timing's going to be off. So finding that perfect rhythm is really important. And in every game, it has its own feel because every game you're encountering a different defensive game plan. But it certainly felt like that he slowed it down just enough to be in sync with the receivers. And then you combine the athleticism, which is always entertaining, especially the Dolphins had a lot of stuff to say after the game out of their locker room about basically revolved around, you know what? We knew Kyler was athletic, but that was stupid. That was elite. It was, the Miami defensive coordinator before the game saying he looks like Tyreek Hill playing quarterback.
Can we make that a phrase? Stupid elite?
It was the Niners defensive coordinator, whose name I always forget because they've changed their defensive coordinator like 4 years in a row with the 49ers, and he said Kyler's like a punt returner. He's more elusive than some punt returners, which is true. As the kids would say, facts. But if he's able to get the deep ball and the downfield passing attack in gear, this is where I'm completely on board and bullish on what the second half of the season looks like. Because we've seen this before, and that's where it truly does unlock the entire offense.
now the offense has to figure out a way to continue that. If you're able to do it against the number one passing defense, you would think that you can do that against most defenses in the league. The fact that the run game was not as successful as it's been this season, how do you combine the success of both aspects of your offense into one single game? That's what they have to figure out moving forward.
As for the defense, what are we thinking in terms of
They get Darius Robinson back, maybe.
Okay, maybe. What do we know on that? The latest, as we know it right here, right now.
He's on the roster now. So now the question becomes, is he going to be inactive on Sunday or is he going to play? And until we see him on the practice field, which we haven't yet, I would be wary of him being able to play this week. But you're a step closer now that he's actually on the roster.
I tell you what, he was down on the sideline in Miami, and you look at him, and he's just in regular tennis shoes, and other guys are in cleats, and he's still towering over all the Cardinals' defensive linemen.
He's a large human being.
And you're like, oh, man, when is he coming back again? Because especially when Naquan Jones was carted off and you're down to 4 defensive linemen, in a lot of games you've dressed 6 and you're down to 4, and it's hot and humid down there, and you got a whole second half to play. I mean, yes, this would be a very welcomed addition.
It was the game, if you're going to look for one, of where you might not need as many bodies on the line of scrimmage from defensive linemen and more help in the secondary. That was the game plan for the Cardinals defense. If you're looking for a positive on that front, the game plan was to eliminate wide receivers Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, considering quarterback Tua Tagovailoa made his return against the Dolphins, and that was the expectation. Miami, as an offense who had been relying on the run without their quarterback, was going to go back to the passing game, and that's what Miami attempted. That's what the Cardinals were able to stop and prevent from happening. Neither Hill nor Waddle had any sort of game-changing plays or even found the end zone. So the Cardinals defense, despite being banged up, has yet again found a way to get the job done.
And when Budda Baker destroyed Tyreek Hill?
Budda Baker had a game.
Is he having the best start to a season in his career? I put it to you, Darren Urban. I asked Nick Rawlis, just how good he's playing right now. Nick Rawlis does not have the benefit of seeing his entire career. You do. I'm going to put that question to Budda this week. I tend to think this is the best start to any season in his career.
I think that's a fair assessment. I mean, it's always dicey with a defensive player who isn't putting up a bunch of other than tackles stats, but it feels like he has been excellent. Now, again, I know he says it's like any other year, contract years don't matter. I've been around this for too long. I don't know if I buy that contract years don't matter to the players, but he has been fantastic. And I look, I know people have asked about this. I never thought he was going to get traded. I still don't think he's going to get traded. In terms of long term, I haven't asked him. I do think Budda would like to be here. It's going to come down to what the team wants to do in terms of the next contract and what they're going to offer him and what he might be able to get out there. And is it a Calais Campbell situation? I don't know. Where the team feels like they've got opportunities to go younger and cheaper. I don't know how that's going to be, but I know that especially that first half, Budda Baker was all over the damn field.
For two people who have covered Budda Baker's entire career with the Cardinals, after that first possession where Budda Baker and Tyreek Hill kind of jarred helmets a little bit and were in each other's faces, I don't think I've ever seen that in this my 4th season covering the Cardinals from Baker. Have y'all seen that from him? I loved it.
He's not really that guy.
Which is why I loved it.
Yeah, he has a rep in practice of barking and talking a lot, right? But nothing like face mask to face mask, like trash talking.
I think Tyreek started that one.
Yep.
Probably. That's when you knew, though, early on that Baker was showing up to play.
And I'm with you. Like, I noticed that, and it was encouraging. But again, that whole first half, he had that. I think it was the same sequence. He had that play, and then he came up. Was that the same sequence where he ended up stoning the guy on the short pass. There was an
For a
incompletion.
tackle for loss.
And then it was like, boom, he was right there. And I'm like, man, he is all over the freaking place.
Yeah, they tried to give it to the tight end, and he jammed the tight end and tackled for loss, -1.
Yeah.
I mean, the first half, I have his name all over the place. In fact, we were talking to Rob Fredrickson about this on the Red Sea Report, and normally you see a safety with a dozen tackles. You're like, ruh-roh, not good. But he plays so much in the box now, and he comes flying down with abandon, and I still can't get an answer from him. Have they unlocked him like a Troy Polamalu? And I asked him recently, I said, are they using you a little bit different and allowing you to rely on your instincts more than ever? And he sort of winked and walked away. And so I kind of took that as a tacit yes. So I think now he's playing within the scheme, and obviously he has his assignment and alignment. I get it, but I just think that Nick Rawls and Jonathan Gannon have just allowed him to just use his 8 years of experience and ridiculous football IQ and all that film work to just seek and destroy.
That's what you want. You want to be able to rely on your best players in those big-time moments and to lead others. The fact that Baker is not only doing what is asked of him in the scheme, is comfortable enough with this coaching staff, with what's being asked of him in the second year here, but is experienced enough to rely on that natural instinct in a way that doesn't take away from what the task at hand is what you want. That's what you want out of the players that are on this roster that are able to utilize that in a way and mix them together. And that's what you want from a coaching staff that's going to be able to recognize what your players do best and how can you bring that out of them.
Paul, do you have a snack? I'm hungry. I just
Okay.
thought I'd mention that.
Okay. Well, I'm going to say just real quick, I'm going to unveil an updated power poll of ineptitude and competence, and there might be a Bears DB on it.
Okay.
Okay, but I hesitate to do it before Wise Guy
Wouldn't want to do that.
because then I'll end up on it. It'll be karma, sort of like what happened to the Bears DB. And with that, no further ado.
It's time for The Wise Guy, the world's fastest growing Cardinals quiz show. The stakes are low, the winner gets absolutely nothing. Here's your hostess with the mostest, Dani Sureck.
I guess the tide truly is turning since Paul is coming
right.
off his
That's
first
true.
official Wise Guy win.
Yeah. Although I've still been so bad, at risk of getting insulted by Sean Payton. That's how bad I've been.
Paul, you're only 5 games behind Darren.
It's still more than, well, maybe half a season. We can do this, Dani. We can do this. What's the word of the week?
What is this, some conspiracy against me now?
It's Calvisi Consulting, the Paulie Pigskin Division, stack. The word of the week is stack. It worked for the Cardinals. Let's see if it works for yours truly.
Paul, would you like to defer or receive?
Obviously receive.
Okay, pick a number 1 through 4 for your first question.
I'm smelling myself right now. 3.
This former Cardinals running back joined the Bears in the mid-2000s and rushed for more than 1,000 yards in 2 of his 3 seasons in Chicago.
If it makes you feel any better, Paul, I know this.
Do I need to repeat it?
Mid-2000s.
Mid-2000s and rushed for more than 1,000 yards in 2 of his 3 seasons in Chicago.
Oh, boy. Okay. I know this. Played for the Niners as well. He was a high draft pick. And Jerry Kick Butkowski.
Close. Thomas Jones.
That is a steal for Darren.
Dang it. I might actually reach for a phone right now and break my own hand.
I don't think he played for the 49ers, though. That was
He did not.
Garrison Hurst.
Thank you. That's the guy I was thinking
Yeah,
of. So
yeah.
thanks for just rubbing that in. I didn't remember Garrison Hurst either.
Thomas Jones.
Darren, pick a number.
I'm going to go with number 1, Dani.
Okay. Prior to the 1947 season, Chicago Cardinals owner Charles Bidwell assembled what became known as the $1 Million Backfield, helping the Cardinals win the NFL championship. The group featured quarterback Paul Christman, halfback Elmer Angsman, fullback Pat Harder, and this future Hall of Famer.
Charlie Trippy.
No hesitation. Correct.
Okay. All right. On one hand, it's 1947. On the other hand, the name is on the side in the Ring of Honor. It's on
That's
the side
true.
of the stadium.
Did you know that one, Paul?
It's not that outlandish. I was in the I had a concept of an answer at that point. I had a concept of an answer. It's cool. I'm good. I'm still in there.
You are still in the game.
Mathematically, I'm still in it. Let's go.
2
Let's
or
go.
4?
Let's see. I'm feeling 4.
Oh, good answer.
Yeah.
Well, we don't know if it's a good answer yet.
No, it's a in my opinion, it's a good answer that
that's
he
good.
picked for.
She's speaking it into existence, Darren.
Here we
Please.
go. In this 1986 classic film, set in the Windy City, Matthew Broderick's character tries to get a table at an exclusive restaurant by posing as Abe Froman, the Sausage King of Chicago.
No.
If you seriously don't know this,
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
what's the movie?
Oh, well, I know that. Ferris Bueller?
Correct.
Okay. That was a layup.
You thought she was going to ask for Abe Froman.
I thought that's the name of the restaurant. I mean, I thought we were getting, drilling down deep here. Okay.
You got
all
a
right.
movie question
so this
correct.
is a big.
Here we go.
This is a big one.
This is a big one, Darren.
Yeah. I remember any movie with a cool car in it. I remember.
Oh yeah, that's a good
fair.
call.
Yeah, there we go.
Darren, if you
Yeah.
get this correct, you will
So
win.
he's all over the Fast and the Furious movies. What?
This former Cardinals quarterback played for the Bears during the 2002 and 2003 seasons. His last name is also the name of a Phoenix suburb.
Chris Chandler.
Correct. Darren is back on top.
Oh my God.
Shall we do the tiebreaker?
Okay.
I think we shall.
I know you like doing the
Is it-
tiebreaker.
I do, because we don't get to play a lot of these
Well,
teams very often.
It's better if it's winner take all. What do you think, Darren?
No, I'm
Darren's
good.
call. Okay, for funsies.
For
Wow.
funsies.
Closest to the number wins. Here we go.
Yeah, there's nothing fun about getting drubbed again.
How many floors does Chicago's Willis Tower have?
Okay, what used to be the Sears Tower. Okay.
Sears.
Okay. All right. Because there's the John Hancock Center, which I think is 94-ish, somewhere around there.
Wait,
You
you're
could
supposed to be writing
possibly
this
be
down.
helping
The
Darren
Sears
thinking out
Tower.
loud here.
Yeah.
Okay, Darren's
okay.
going to show me his answer.
Okay. Hang on.
Okay, that's
Okay.
You don't have to write yours down. You can say it because I already
Okay.
yeah.
told her mine.
Darren showed
Okay.
me his.
107.
I said 112.
You are out of luck, Paul, because it's 108. Had Darren said winner take all, it would have gone to you. Alas, Darren is receiving the crown again.
Speaking of receiving the crown again, it's a good time to update the picks.
No.
Oh, jeez.
Although I had a good
Dani
week.
had a very good week. She was 11-4. I also was 11-4. Paul was pretty good at 10-5.
I'm 10 games back from you.
So right now I am 76-39 with a 2-game lead on Paul and a 10-game lead on Dani.
Yikes. You know what I've learned, though?
That you're in
I
last
am-
place?
I am done choosing Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. I'm done.
Yeah.
I
No.
thought maybe getting Devontae. I think maybe that's been part of my problem is I have to go back and look and see how often I've picked the Jets. It's clearly been too often. I'm done putting my trust in them.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I definitely picked the Jets this week. I'm guessing you did too against the Patriots, Paul.
I did. I did underestimate the depth of depravity that is the New York Jets. They're coming to town. We'll see them in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I was going to say, don't save up
Yeah.
all your Jets takes
No.
for next week's.
No, here's a holy cannoli stat. I think Dani and I, we're going to wallow in the misery that is taking the Jets and losing because here was the stat on ESPN. Teams who score 20 or more points
Oh, yeah, I saw
without a
that.
turnover while holding their opponent to 250 total yards or less were 750-0. It's now 750-1. The Jets are the one team to score 20 or more without a turnover and hold your opponent to 250 or less in terms of total yardage and lose.
Jackson, I want that gif of Dani with her mouth open.
that's impressive
So, I mean,
in a bad way.
in a bad way.
it's just, oh my goodness.
How do you think Aaron Rodgers feels? Or Devontae Adams?
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers might go back to one of those solitary confinement rooms.
How do you think Tyreek Stevenson feels after what he did to segue back to the Bears?
Wow.
Well, I'm going to say this. I didn't know what his name was until this weekend.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Because once again, we've had our ranking, our power poll, if you will, of ineptitude here in 2024. Just, recent events, current events. It's on you if you don't know the magnitude of idiocy that's involved with some of what I'm about to cite. But in the power poll of ineptitude, I mean, there's everything from, Kid Rock's lip syncing to, the Trey Lance trade to the Chicago White Sox to the Australian breakdancer.
Ray Gun.
Thank you to the,
I know what Danny's dressing up for Halloween.
to endless shrimp at Red Lobster bankrupting the entire company.
Yeah, that was a crushing blow.
Alex Morello running the Coyotes. The Secret Service is on there. These are all things that, just epic ineptitude. And now we're going to add Tyreek Stevenson to the list.
Yikes, Paul.
I mean,
harsh.
am I wrong on that?
Well, why don't you explain what happened for those who might be listening and didn't either see the game or see the clip on Twitter?
Well, let's see. He was playing to the crowd. The play was underway on the final Hail Mary. He's got his back to the play.
4.1 seconds surpassed from the snap to the time Tyreek Stevenson in the corner realized, oh, there's a play going on.
Sounds like Darren studied the film quite in depth.
Well,
so Darren, you take it from here.
Okay. He was yapping at the Washington fans.
Yep.
Some other Bears fans started screaming at him that the play had started. He turned around and ran to the pack of the Hail Mary. The problem is, as what looked like at the time and was confirmed later by Matt Eberflus, that the guy who ended up catching the game-winning touchdown,
Noah Brown, was Tyreek Stevenson's responsibility to block out. It also looked like Stevenson tipped the ball. It
Yes.
it went up a little just before landing right into Brown's hands. No one near him in the end zone, right behind the pile.
The football god struck him down with a thunderbolt of karma. Because not only did he miss his assignment and alignment, he's supposed to box out the tip man, who was all by his lonesome to make the game-winning catch, but he ends up battling Zach Ertz for the football and then tips it straight back. As Kyle Brandt said on Good Morning Football, you turned into Karch Karai and you set up a little volleyball setup for the spike.
Go ahead.
Is Cliff Kingsbury 2-0 in Hail Marys?
Well, that we remember.
Yeah.
I will say this. He's lucky that I think he's a rookie, number one, and he is lucky that he is considered a rising star in that secondary, because if he had any kind of lower level status, I mean, you cut him, right?
He gone. Yeah, no doubt. You make an example out of him for that mental gaffe.
Maybe like the Colts.
He did that night. He did apologize to his teammates, he did post an apology on Twitter. Then on Monday during the team meeting, he apologized to his teammates.
And again, I get, but see, you can talk all you want. This is going to be the narrative all week, because not only was it a dumb play that cost you points, it cost you a game. And when you're battling against the NFC opponent, I mean, I can't think of a worse way to be coming off a game. I mean, I'm not saying the Cardinals are a lock now, but this is a hard hill to overcome now.
Well, and the Bears were playing some bad football.
Yes.
And they were about to escape with a win they really did not earn. Caleb Williams started 4 of 16 passing. He basically had one drive where he was any good. They got bailed out by DeAndre Swift, a 56-yard touchdown run. By the way, a lot of people consider him a top 5 running back this year. DeAndre Swift, he's having a really nice season. They obviously have 3 really capable receivers in Keenan Allen and DJ Moore and Roma Dunze, the rookie. They have a playmaking tight end in Cole Kmet. What they don't have is an offensive line. They suffered 3 more offensive line injuries in that game.
And they don't have a consistent quarterback. Caleb Williams, as a rookie, was 4 of 16 for 36 yards at one point early in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, it was
Williams
ugly.
has been sacked 22 times. That's a lot.
Yeah, I think it's
for somebody that
second most. Yeah,
for somebody that
elusive.
Elusive, yeah.
By the way, at the very end of the game, Montez Sweat went out. And
that's not good.
He was unable to return. He went out with a shin injury. So what exactly does that mean? Because we all know what Montez Sweat did for that Bears defense after the trade a year ago. And they've had a really good defense. In fact, it's 13 straight games they've held an opponent to 21 points or less, which is the longest active streak in the NFL. So they have a very stout defense. It's one of the better scoring defenses in the league.
I am just hoping, again, that the Cardinals take advantage of this. And, you know, if Tyreek Stevenson wants to have another Marco Wilson moment, that's okay with me. But, I mean, ultimately...
Now, wait a minute. Marco Wilson moment?
Hold on. Don't glaze over that.
Oh, from
college,
Florida. That's
Florida.
Right. Okay.
Cost him a game.
That's right. No, that is true.
Ooh,
that is
Darren.
right. It's so yeah.
I know Marco's listening to the podcast. I'm sure.
If you can come out and you can jump on the Bears early in this game, I mean, where are they? Where is their mindset? They know what's coming. The rest of their schedule. They have the NFL's toughest remaining schedule. They haven't played a single division game yet. And the 3 teams ahead of them in the NFC North are 3 of the best teams in football. And they still have 6 games against those 3 teams.
You know, I know a lot of people, when they want to talk about the Bears coming to Glendale, they're going to think of the Monday Night Meltdown.
Yeah,
which
sure.
please go check out that Emmy-winning piece on YouTube.com.
On
But do you-
YouTube.com, Darren? Come on.
Whatever.
On the Arizona Cardinals official YouTube channel. Who says YouTube.com?
I don't know.
It's like the World Wide Web.
I wasn't planning on saying it. I got to be
Sorry,
honest.
carry on.
It's Cardinals
So
folktales.
Cardinals folktales? Do you remember the last time the Bears came to town? That was also a hugigantic night. Day.
I certainly remember the trip there on Christmas Eve
Nope.
a year ago. Let's
Same.
see. Coming here. Bears coming here. So 06 between now and 06. If this was Wise Guy, I would lose again.
I believe the last time they were here was the beginning of the Josh Rosen era,
Oh, my goodness. Was it?
wasn't it? They
Was-
haven't been here since then, have they?
That wasn't the...
I'm sure Omo will text me.
was
any
that the
moment.
Sam Bradford game where he
Yes.
went down and didn't get up in
Yeah.
week 3?
Yeah.
And his NFL career literally was done at
Yes,
that moment.
correct.
And we confirmed with Steve Wilkes later. Did you replace him early in that game because he just never got up and looked to be...
Well, it wasn't that early. It was later in the game.
Was it?
But
Okay.
I think it was second half.
And the answer was yes.
Yeah.
We all knew on the sideline that Sam Bradford
Toast.
was no longer for football. Wow. Okay. All right, so I do semi-remember that.
Just not off the top of your head.
No, I just need a little, I guess I've turned into Ron Burgundy. If it's not on the prompter, I'm totally hosed at this point. I mean, I need something to jog my memory. It really is abysmal. There's no doubt about it.
Can we get you to do the sounder?
No, absolutely not.
Stay classy, San Diego?
No. Can I just say something else? If you look at the quarterbacks the Cardinals have faced this year, Josh Allen, Matthew Stafford, Jared Goff, Brock Purdy, Justin Herbert, and now Tua. All right, plus Rookie of the Year Jaden Daniels and Jordan Love of Green Bay. I mean, think about that.
It's a pretty nice lineup there. We're not facing any backups, that's for
Right.
sure.
So, I mean, all of a sudden you get a rookie in Caleb Williams who's wildly inconsistent. And, I mean, if you can get off to a lead in this game and, just make him look like a rookie.
I don't want to get too excited after what Jaden Daniels did, so.
Yeah, that's true. But, look, at this point. Now, doesn't mean that Kelvin Beachum after the game didn't use the word messy when describing the Cardinals' offense. There's still things to dial in. Obviously, they gave up rushing yards. Obviously, they're banged up in the defensive line. And it's still a process to get to the quarterback, and you got to dial it up, a lot of times. But it does seem like this Cardinals coaching staff, when it's a third and got to have it with the game on the line, they have something they're saving on the laminated play sheet, whether it's Kyler in the run on 3rd and 4, whether it's 3rd and 9, and here comes 3 blitzers, and Jalen Thompson gets home and forces that incompletion that gets the Cardinals the ball back. It does seem like Drew Petzing and Nick Rawls do tend to save one of their best calls for those moments.
That was an area against Miami offense for the Cardinals defense that wasn't great statistically. Miami went 11 for 15 on 3rd down, which is a 73% completion rate. That's an area this Cardinals defense has to be better on. Both things can be true, though. That's an area that needs to improve. And you're right, Paul. The Cardinals defense has done a nice job on when those big moments have to come up. At least Sunday against the Dolphins, they did. Same rings true for the other side of the ball for the Cardinals offense in those situations.
All right, so Darren is admittedly a little hangry. It's about to get worse for you, and I ask you the following question in 3, 2, 1. Trade deadline, Darren. What do you expect? How is the mailbag as we close in on November 5th? I don't know what else is going on that day, but I do know
Nothing.
it's the NFL trade deadline.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know if they're going to make a deal. I mean, and I would be purely guessing, but it just feels like they won't.
There's wants and needs. Do they need to make a deal for a D lineman just because they're so banged up?
Well, I mean, again, Here's the issue that I have with that. Could they deal for somebody? Yes. Might it help them short term? Yes. But there's so many things that go into it. We don't know the quality of the guys that are on the market right now. Essentially, we don't know how they feel about those players in terms of their play. in terms of their mental makeup, in terms of how they might fit with this defense. I mean, Dani and I have talked about it with Gree and Zach Gershman in that room that you never visit us, Paul.
Don't remember being invited. I didn't get an evite.
That's true. Okay. We've talked about it a lot of times, and let's be honest on this. The way they use their edge and their defensive linemen, do they want to go get somebody who is a quote unquote bigger name? I mean, they want to rotate these guys.
All right, I'll say it.
Okay.
If the Dolphins lose this week, Calais Campbell?
I mean, I would love for Calais Campbell, but I don't see it.
No?
Do you?
Well, let me ask you, in terms of fit, are you saying it's not a good fit in the
scheme?
No,
I think fit would be unbelievable.
I do too.
What do you give up for Calais Campbell?
That's the kicker. If it's a player on your roster, the Cardinals don't have a ton of draft capital for next year's draft. I believe it's 6, 7 picks.
I think it's 6.
So
it could be 7.
What exactly are you going to be willing to give up? And on top of that, you have to think long term of what the deal is for that player, because if you're willing to ride out this year and knowing you're going to get Bilal Nichols and Justin Jones back next year, who are going to be under contract, are those still the players you're going to want to build around for your defensive line, to where maybe you don't want to trade for a Calais Campbell?
If you're trading for Calais, it's for half a year. He's not going to be here in 2025.
Yeah.
So it would be literally for this year.
That's what I'm operating on.
Yeah.
For the second half of the year.
What are you, a 7th round pick?
Yeah, 7th rounder, tops. But, the thing is,
pick swap?
He really, Florida is home for him in a lot of ways. He went to the U, so it's not like he's dying to get out of there.
No.
But if Calais walked in, his stature and standing in the NFL, and he walked in to the Dolphins front office and said, if you want to move me, this isn't really how I envision ending my career on a 4 or 5 win team with the bottom falling out. And if you want to send me back to where I started and there's interest, hey, I'd love that. That'd be great. Props to you.
The fact that conversation, we don't know if that's happening. The fact that your hypothetical...
It's fan fiction from Paul Calvisi.
The fact that your fan fiction hypothetical could be realistic for this Cardinals team says a lot about the growth of the organization, the culture, the effort, and the product that is being shown on the football field.
Now, if I had an oven mitt, I'd actually put it on for a hot take. The
Where's
whole Calais Cam, the kitchen crew actually took it back.
Oh my gosh!
Apparently they didn't gift me the oven
Where's
mitt.
Your key?
I need to get over to Walmart or something, get an oven mitt. So where is the key? You're right. I think I do have that actually.
Don't anger the football gods.
By the way, I was told that Calais Campbell showed up to his new team. He was a member of the team for less than 2 months, and the players had already voted him a team captain. That's the sort of guy.
Tracks.
Which isn't a surprise to anyone who knows Calais Campbell.
Love Calais.
But, so there you go. Figuring out the D-line, that is definitely a key. Maybe Darius Robinson is that guy this week. We'll see. But look, let me just say this too. Darius Robinson played off the edge quite a bit for your Mizzou Tigers in his final year.
Wait, where did he go to college?
If you bolster the interior D-line, and now all of a sudden, out of need and necessity, not only is Mack Wilson Sr. coming off the edge, but if you're using Darius Robinson off the edge a little bit to supplement the guys you have left after losing Dennis Gardeck and B.J. Ojolari, I don't know. I think there's possibilities there, especially knowing the way this whole coaching staff operates. So
you will get no pushback from me.
That's right. Okay. Any other airing of grievances or anything? Are we keeping Darren from lunch?
Are you guys dressing up for Halloween?
No.
Absolutely not. No. That's no. Darren.
What
But Dani, you
curious.
are, Dani. Go ahead.
No, I'm not actually.
Oh.
Cardinals have 6 draft picks according to the erstwhile Jim O'Mahony.
What kind of candy? I'm curious to know from a personality understanding of the two of you, what type of candy do you each hand out to trick-or-treaters? I think that says a lot about a person.
We have a bag of chocolate, like the mini chocolate. We're not going with the stuff that nobody wants.
Full size.
Yeah,
but you know what?
They're not full size, but they're
chocolates are a safe bet. I like that.
Honestly, just like Wise Guy, don't know what we're handing out at Casa Calvisi because that's not my department. I will tell you what I steal out of the kids' bags, though. Can I answer that one?
That's fine.
It's going to be something gross.
It needs to know any sort of chocolate malt balls because
I knew it was going to be
disgusting.
something gross.
Gross. I mean,
Almost from the rafters.
From deep downtown.
What is wrong with you people? You don't like chocolate
Paul,
malt?
are you 80 years
no,
old?
No, malt balls. I can't do malt balls.
Come on.
Although it was funny,
Jackson.
First of all, I know what we're giving because my wife has already opened the bag and had 3 pieces in the last week. Unfortunately, I have not touched it. She was like, I had 3 pieces today, and 2 I realized I will never eat again. And I'm thinking, what's in there? She's like, so I had a Reese's, and I'm like, well, then that's the one you want. And she's like, nope, won't have that. I'm like, what?
My favorite candy.
We've become very enamored with dark chocolate, and so I understand it, but I'm not giving up Reese's peanut butter cups for God's sake. It's the greatest thing that's ever invented.
Candy.
Way better than malt balls.
So, okay, let me get this straight. So, dark chocolate is so far superior to malted chocolate.
Yes.
Really?
The malt ball to me is
Really?
like a candy corn where I can have 2 pieces and then I'm done for the year. Hit my
I just
cap.
don't like that taste. The chocolate on the outside's fine.
texture.
Is the inside is like what?
Yeah.
You know, it's taken 3 years. I think I'm finally personally offended on here on Cardinals Underground. I really am. I'd like to file this whole podcast under protest. Okay.
When was the last time you dressed up, Paul? For Halloween?
Okay, it was probably about 5 years ago. The kids were younger.
So relatively recently.
And I threw it together, and it included a San Jose Sharks jersey and a hockey mask, and I don't know what else I had in the closet. I threw it on there, and it was just a bunch of nothing. And it got mocked as well. That's sort of persistent theme in my life.
Is Cheeto dressing up?
Cheeto, I need to check. I need to check the online ordering and see if. I'm guessing that. You know what? That's
Is Cheeto going to be dressed up as a Cheeto?
Oh, that would be
solid. He's put on an inordinate amount of weight. I don't know.
I don't know. I think you're just harsh on him.
No, he's the wife and kids, way too many snacks. He's put on way too much weight. In fact, it's a close race who's put on more weight recently, our dog Cheeto or Ron Wolfley. I don't know. I'll just leave you with this.
Shots fired.
And this is Wolf now. He'll own it. Out to dinner in Miami. He's moments removed from polishing off a huge slice of chocolate peanut butter cheesecake.
You have to keep talking about food, don't you? Jesus.
And then he says, "Man, I gotta lose some weight. The cheeks are getting a little full. I gotta lose some weight." I go, "Wow, what? Maybe it should have started about 3 minutes ago before you devour that huge slice of cheesecake."
We were in Miami.
Yeah.
Did you go to the beach, Paul?
Did not. No. Did you? How was it?
It was lovely. I sat outside with Mike Helm, and we had a few drinks on a patio, and it was lovely.
I also went to the beach. We hung out. We threw the football around, found some seashells. Lovely day.
Okay. All right.
Should have gone.
I protest the beach because the water is so much warmer than Northern California. So,
That's
you
true.
protest a lot of things.
I'm protesting everything.
He said he wasn't getting offended, and yet he gets offended.
You're right. Okay. Actually, the key to this podcast is me ending this podcast right here. Cardinals Underground, brought to you by Pacific Office Automation.